What's up, everyone? Welcome in to another episode of Business Relationship Sports with CA and KJ. Today you're getting CA. KJ has some other things that he's got to get to today, so it's going to be you and I. So today what we're getting into, a little bit of the sports world, a little bit of the business world, a little bit of the relationship world, and specifically how mentality affects these things. So for those who don't know, on a daily basis, something that I'm doing outside of sports coaching, outside of exploring business and relationship sports, is mentality coaching. So specifically, getting people to maximize self-confidence, getting people to maximize self-belief, and then that translating into productivity and then being able to essentially do whatever they want that is within their physical capabilities. So number one thing that I always contact people about is this concept called mentality. So where does mentality start as it pertains to business, relationship, sports? Being able to have self-belief. If you're a human out there who wants to accomplish anything, if you're a person who wants to be able to extend yourself as an athlete and be able to get onto that next level team or be able to get on that next level division. If you're a person who's in business and you want to be able to move up in terms of the chain of command in your company, or you want to be able to start your own company, or you want to be able to expand and elevate yourself. If you're a person in a relationship who wants to have good relationships, positive things happen, and always good feelings, mentality is always the primary thing. So with mentality, what we want to try to do is make sure that the number one thing is getting rid of the things that are in our way from being able to create progress. So before we can even start the process of trying to maximize ourselves, trying to become more self-confident, trying to help other people, trying to get to the next level within our craft, we have to make sure we do something that I call sifting bricks. So that is getting rid of the things in your life that are within your control that take you away from your goals. An example of a brick would be if you're a person who's an athlete, say you are a basketball player, and you want to be a person in the starting lineup, you want to be a person who helps lead the team onto whatever success they're going to have. A brick that might be in your way is the coach is always telling the other person in your position that they're the star of the team, they're the primary person, the team goes or comes, based on that individual. And you taking that on in your mind as truth, you taking that on in your mind as, well, that's the way it is, there's no way for me to flip that. Your confidence becomes lower, you're not as productive, therefore you can't be able to reach your goal. So the way that that's seen as a brick is for you to be able to communicate to yourself, for you to be the person who's in charge of your confidence, and you ultimately be the person who is calling the shots on what you believe and which direction you're going to go. And so I want to make sure that this stays super clear. This is all in the reference and all in the frame of the things that you have control over. So as it pertains to the way that somebody else's business works, the way that somebody else's athleticism or sports work, the way that somebody else's relationship goes, that needs to be their responsibility. That needs to be their primary thought. But for you, you want to try to make sure that in your relationships, in your business, in your sports, your opinion is the primary. So let's use that same example of having a basketball player who's lost a little bit of confidence because they're not told that they're the primary person. That means that you're taking your opinion from somebody else's opinion, whether that be the coach, whether that be the other parents, whether that be the other players. And ultimately, you getting to the top of the food chain in your craft comes down to you deciding that you're the person in charge of your confidence. So some ways to work on that: starting to speak to yourself, starting to write things down in your notebook, starting to make sure you give yourself exercises to push yourself beyond your normal realms of responsibility. So for example, if you're in a basketball practice, if you normally take 5 shots in the practice, pushing yourself to a minimum of 10. If you're a person who normally communicates at the beginning of practice and at the end of practice, starting to push yourself to add more communication towards your teammates or even toward yourself in the middle of practice. Those would be some examples on how to start to work on that. But getting to the bigger point here, holistically in business, relationship, sports, you can really look at any craft and be able to see that the people who are the most successful, as in able to reach their goals, as in able to get to the top of the food chain, as in the highest level in their craft, they have a common denominator, and that's that they have self-belief in what they're trying to do. If you look at the NBA and look at a player like Luka Doncic or Jason Tatum, the people who are in the NBA Finals, these are players who ultimately have a belief that when they step on the court, they're going to be able to affect winning. If they're the person with the ball in their hands, they're going to be able to make the shot. If you look at business, some of the people who are doing it at the highest level, like a Steve Jobs or like the CEO of Starbucks, these people had a belief in their idea, even though it wasn't already yet an idea. Amazon was not already yet an idea for Jeff Bezos. Apple was not already an idea as it pertains to Steve Jobs, and for the CEO of Starbucks, the same. but these people saw something. I'm going to be able to change the market. I'm going to be able to get people to believe in a product, and I'm going to green light go. I'm going to invest what I need. I'm going to recruit the people who I need to recruit into this, and we're going to be able to push this thing forward. So these are examples not to say everybody should go out and create an invention and just throw paint at the wall and believe in themselves that every invention is going to work. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is, if you're a person who wants to have more self-belief, if you want to be able to push the people around you, like your kids or like your family members or your friends, into having more self-belief, you need to understand where it starts. It starts with self. It doesn't start with somebody else telling you that you have the ability to be successful. It doesn't begin with somebody else telling you that you have a lot of potential in your craft. You ultimately have to be the person who's giving the information to yourself. You have to be the person who's pushing on this concept. So when you're thinking about sports right now in the present day, let's look at the Kansas City Chiefs. Right now, their quarterback, who's previously been the MVP of the NFL, he is seen by many as the best player in the NFL, Patrick Mahomes, and he already has a bunch of Super Bowls. This 2024 season, he hasn't really even played that well thus far. He's had a lot of interceptions, more than normal. He hasn't gotten rid of the ball as quickly as he normally does, and he's not running up as many points as he traditionally does. So his team, if you don't know, is undefeated. They're 8-0 as of this week. And a lot of the reasoning for that has to do with the aura that's created. So the defense is good. The offense has some skilled players, even though they've lost multiple starters. And Patrick Mahomes hasn't played that well in terms of the physical actions of his game. Nonetheless, he's been able to still help the team be able to create wins because there hasn't been any lack of confidence and there hasn't been any lack of belief amongst the rest of the team that things are still going to go their way. So the aura that's created and the feeling of things are going to go our way, we're going to have success, we're going to do well, that comes from a track record of self-confidence, self-belief that's being poured throughout the locker room on a daily basis. Another example, if you look at Sabrina Ionescu, she's a basketball player for the New York Liberty, who just won the most recent WNBA championship. In the last game that they played, she ended up shooting 1 of 19, which means she made 1 of 19 shots. It's not very good percentages. However, the team was still able to win. Why was the team able to win? Do they have assistance from other players? Of course. Did the other team play particularly badly? I wouldn't say so. But ultimately, the thing that Sabrina Ionescu did, which most players aren't willing to do, is she continued to shoot. She continued to show the confidence. So the team around her probably didn't even realize what she was shooting, in honesty. Of course, they might realize like she was missing some shots, but there's no way that the rest of the team felt like, you know, our first best player, second best player, third best player, however they see her, is missing almost all of her shots and hasn't made a shot yet heading into the fourth quarter. Things aren't going to go well for us. There was never a feeling of that because she continued to shoot confidently. She continued to keep her routine and her system and her way symmetrical to how it always is. So players who show confidence, players who build confidence, they're going to end up being able to win out more often than they don't. That doesn't mean you're going to win every time, but they'll win out more often than they don't. It's the same thing in business. Sometimes in business, you have a little bit of a roller coaster effect, right? You might hit one season where things are going really well for your business. There's a lot of customers, there's a lot of people interested, you're getting a lot of engagement. And the next season, because of whatever reason, you might have a dip in engagement or a dip in customers. And in those situations, the people who panic tend to have their business go this way because they're trying to change everything at once. They get a little bit irritable. Things are very challenging for them. And then all of a sudden, people feel that angst, they feel that panic, and then they start to be a little bit less productive. They start to be less confident, and then the ship starts to go down. Versus the people who understand there's going to be ebb and flows. Let's take a clean, calculated look at where the dips are. Let's make small improvements and make sure that we keep our confidence up, we keep our belief up, we believe that things are going to go well, and then things start to roll and expand forward and go this direction. And same thing in relationships. The people in relationships who have confidence in themselves and they believe that they're a valuable person, they bring value to the table, they're a person who can add, then they're going to have more success than a person who is a little bit less confident or doesn't believe that they have any kind of value or doesn't believe that they're bringing anything to the table or has to be told continuously that they're, a valuable person. So throughout business, relationships, and sports, the common denominator of people who typically find success, it is confidence. It is this belief in self that they're going to end up being the person who has the success, or they're going to end up being the person who can make it happen, or they're going to be the person who will win out. So if you want to develop that, you want to have a system, and it has to be something that you work on continuously. Many folks out there who want to be more confident, who want to have more success between their ears, the reality is they're spending a lot of time on other things. If they're a student in school, they're spending a lot of time on homework and learning geometry and learning world history. If they're an athlete, they're spending a lot of time on their jump shot or their golf swing or their tennis stroke or their swimming movement. And if they're a person who is, an electrician, they're reading and they're studying and they're testing. But these same exact traits have to be applied to mentality. If you're a person who wants to be more self-confident, if you're a person who wants to have more self-belief, then you have to put yourself in a situation where you're working on it. You have to put yourself in a situation where you're analyzing yourself and you're going, okay, what are the things I already do successfully? What are the things that I already see success in? What are the things that I already value about myself? And then how can I expand upon those things and potentially take them to a new level? How can I take these things onto a new stratosphere, a new space, a new place, and always adding and always having optimism that I can make it better and better and better. That's really the trait of the people who are the most successful. So if you're a person who's watching this and you're thinking to yourself, yeah, I want to be, more self-confident, or I want to have a stronger mentality, or I know somebody like a son or a daughter or a brother or a sister, a friend who wants to be that way, these are the things that you want to try to have in order. You first want to start with making sure that there's goals in place. So what are the things that I'm even trying to accomplish? So I'm not just always throwing paint at the wall, so that I can always revert back to where am I trying to get? What is the mountain that I'm trying to climb? What's at the top of the hill? And then from there, it transitions into your current state. So how am I mentally now? Being honest with yourself. What are the areas that I feel like I have mental toughness and strength and feel good? What are the areas that I have self-doubt, or the areas that I don't feel so confident? And now I want to develop a process, which if you're talking to me, I would use the 6-phase process, something that I've created for people to be able to maximize self-confidence. If you're a person who is in a specific craft and you want to try to have your mentality be based specifically on that craft, it doesn't change the fact that you still have to be able to have a system. So if you're a golfer and you want to have more confidence in your drive, you tend to get into tournaments, you get nervous, your drive doesn't go straight. There's a way that you could be able to build that and develop more consistency. If you're a person who's a tennis player and you want to be able to have more success on the tennis court, or when the score gets close, you want to be able to make your serve. If you're a person who's in business and you feel like once you get to the business, you have really a challenging time communicating with clients, or you have a tough time being able to secure business and that type of thing, you want to start to work on that self-confidence and that mentality. So I want to transition into what's happening in the world of sports right now, again, and be able to show how these things move. So you have NBA basketball season just began, and you have players who are at the top of the food chain in terms of athleticism and talent and MVP race, like a Giannis Antetokounmpo, but their team is not being very successful. So they're 1 game won and 7 games lost, records like this. Why does that happen? That happens because the people around do not have a belief that we're going to be a successful team. We're going to be the team who ends up winning out. We're going to be the team who ends up at the end of the game, pushing ahead. If you have a team like who's doing well right now? Here's an example. You have a team like the Cavaliers, Cleveland Cavaliers, who are doing really well. Donovan Mitchell is their leader. Trains all summer. Lots of confidence leading from last season. It doesn't matter how Cleveland has traditionally been. I believe the team is going to do well. I'm going to get the players around me to believe the team is going to do well. Everything is cohesive. Everything is connected, moving it forward. How do you create that environment? Always in sports, that's created in the off season. So if you're an athlete, if you're the parent of an athlete, if you're a fan of sports, understand that championships are created in the off season, no doubt. Is there development that happens during the season? For sure. Are there ways that you can improve and change and right your ship during the season? Of course. But by and large, anybody who's winning championships at a high level will tell you championships are won in the off season. The same exact thing applies to business. If you look at that, it's making sure that your ducks are in a row in advance before whatever transactions you're trying to do. If you're in the event space and you tend to run events, if you're throwing together events at the last minute and then hoping it works out and trying to make adjustments on the fly, your events are not going to be as consistent or as successful as if you have a template laid out. This is how it's going to go. This is when we're going to do it. This is how many people we want to have there. This is who we're going to hire, X, Y, and Z. So you want to try to make sure that the layout is there and the off-season time is spent. It's the same thing in relationships, honestly. Preparation, making sure you understand who it is you want to be, who it is you want to attract, how you want to be able to move forward in whatever you're going to do, whether that's a friendship, if that's a romantic relationship, if that's a business relationship, family relationship, communication being the primary thing in that. So today's note is really about starting to have a focus on mentality, making sure that consistently there is a thought and there is a consideration and there is a direction that you're trying to go as it pertains to mentality, because without it, you're going to end up being at an average state. So moving forward, if you want to find more of this, check out Business Relationship Sports on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe. Make sure you get in the comment section. Let us know if there's anything specific you want us to talk about, if there's anything you have questions about, if there's anything that you want to learn about. This is a space that we're utilizing to start to be able to add pieces from our lives and take things that are happening in the world on a daily basis, plug them together, and be able to get to a new level. Until next time, signing off.